live, correct? Correct. We're all right. We're finally live. What? Oh man, I tell you, I've been prepping on this thing for the last 2 hours, and yeah. Anyway, here we are tonight again, um, at Apocalypse Hump Day. It's Wednesday, correct? Please tell me it is. It has been a day and a half today. Um, and I almost didn't do this just because there were some things that came up this morning that um, were a little hard to deal with. But here we are, and we are going to celebrate the apocalypse. Um, every Wednesday, I'll be on here doing a live broadcast, reading a short story from one of my books that deals with the apocalypse. Last week we did Running Alone, where some entity in the sky was sucking the souls out of people. And tonight we are going to be dealing with Big Lucy himself, Lucifer's Parade. This is from my book. Again, it's from Nyctophobia, and that is also available on Amazon if you don't have it. And it's also available. It's available on paperback and on Kindle. And yeah, check it out. I believe it was my second horror anthology. And when I was a young aspiring writer, I believe I wrote this story when I was around in my 20s, and it was during a time when it was the late 80s, early 90s, when there was the whole devil worshipping scare. I mean, that kind of started in the 70s, I guess, but yeah, I was living in Omaha at the time, going to art school, and there was some sketchy stuff happening around Omaha, and like sacrifices, and at the playgrounds, people were finding dead animals that were kind of sacrificed in some ritualistic way. And so I had this nightmare about Omaha having this big, huge, giant black monolith that came up out of the ground, and it was the gateway to hell or something like that. And yeah, anyways, it progressed kind of like the story did, and which you'll find out very soon what it's about. So before we get into it, I wanted to say thank you to those of you who tuned in last night to Tunes on Tuesday. Last night we did a little Johnny Cash, and I asked if any of you guys out there played and would like to perform a song. Send me the video, and I will post it and promote it here at the Beehive, and also on my YouTube page. So I received a video from Mitch Wilson, who I have heard sing. Dude's got an incredible voice. I did not know he played guitar, but yeah. So I just checked out the video. It's really good, and I can't wait to share it with you next week on Tuesday. I'll post that, and then I'll also be doing a song myself. So with that being said, let's dive into the pages of Nyctophobia and read Lucifer's Parade. And I got a treat tonight. I even have some incidental music in the background, provide a little mood for us. Let's see if it'll play. I think it's playing. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's get into this scary bit of short little horror story, shall we? All right. Lucifer's Parade. I'm writing this on an old Corona typewriter. I am somewhere off the interstate just southwest of Omaha, Nebraska, in an old abandoned warehouse office. I write it out for posterity more than anything else. I am a writer after all, but I don't think I'll be publishing any more novels. I'm only holding out in this place for the night, and then I'm moving west or north. I haven't decided which. I saw this typewriter here, and I decided to write witness to the events that led up to the possible extinction of the human race. I don't think anyone will read this, nobody human at least, so this is more or less cathartic. A few days ago, my wife Stella, rest in peace, and I decided to take a road trip from our home in Beaverton, Oregon, to Omaha, Nebraska to visit an old college friend of mine. Joey Ganucci owned his own painting business in Omaha. He's very successful with it. He was an economics major in college, but ran his own painting business to live on, so go figure. When driving to Omaha on Interstate 80 from the west, it comes at you by surprise. It's corn, corn, more corn, 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 bam, Omaha. All traffic was detoured around downtown Omaha. It was a standstill on the smaller roads, but luckily I knew a few detours of my own to get to his neighborhood and made it back to Omaha proper in 15 minutes. The Ganucci's were a well-to-do family with restaurants, jewelry stores, and a couple of hotels. Joey inherited his mother's house in a gated community called the Regency. When we got to the gate, a security guard stopped us. He checked my license and asked me how I got into Omaha through the detours. I joked that I was once the mayor of Omaha, but he didn't find that funny. He made a phone call, I thought to Joey, but found out later it was to someone else. He lifted the gate, and we went in. Joey greeted us and helped us unload the luggage from the trunk. He also asked about how I made it through the detours, and he laughed at my mayor joke. He fed us the typical Italian dinner, baked ziti with bread and clam sauce. The guy was a natural cook, and after a few glasses of wine, I asked him what was going on in Omaha that they needed to detour traffic out of the city. I noticed a mood change in his face. A parade, he said. Since you left, they started having a parade every year to commemorate some pagan festival. Solstice, maybe. Solstice, I said. That's not until... I don't know what it's called, man, he interrupted me. Anyways, I have to go downtown and finish up a job at a salon. But we just got here, my wife Stella said. I'm sorry, he said genuinely. He almost looked too sorry. But the salon needs to be done before tomorrow, when they open. I offered to help. No, he said almost curtly. You should just stick around here. I wouldn't go downtown. It's too crowded and packed. Okay. I guess we'll just stick around here until you get back, I said. He patted me on the shoulder, and then his cell phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and then dismissed himself out of the room. An hour after he left, we sat out on his patio, enjoying more wine than we really should have. And I'll savor that moment because it was the last really good time I spent with Stella. His house sat on top of a bluff that overlooked the city lights of Omaha. Joey was right. It looked very packed with traffic. What's that? Stella said with her head against my chest. There was something almost as tall as the Mutual of Omaha building that I had never noticed before. There were spotlights all around it. We should go check it out, she said. I don't know, honey. You know me and crowds. I really hate crowds. Any more than 5 people in a room and I freak out. But my wife has a way of making me do things I would normally never do, and be comfortable with doing them. Whether it's those damn brown eyes of hers or those long legs, I'll never know. I just found myself behind the wheel of our Subaru Outback and heading to the front gate of the Regency. The gate didn't open. I honked the horn and the security guard came over to my window. Is there a problem? I asked. Where are you going? He asked. I looked at Stella and then back at him and laughed. What, are you kidding me? Standard procedure, sir. I looked at his eyes, and he wasn't kidding. He meant business, and I thought if I refused this man, there would be a fight. Just heading to the store to get some more booze, I said in my best drunk voice I could. You really shouldn't be driving if you've been drinking, sir. Well, you really shouldn't be harassing me either. My tax dollars are paying your salary, mister. Stella tried to conceal a laugh. Actually, the Regency Association pays my salary, sir. Whatever. Come on. Let me and my wife get out of here. I'm thirsty. The guard walked back to his little shack and called someone. When he got off the phone, he hit the button to the gate. What the fuck was that? I asked. I don't know, Stella said. I'm going to talk to Joe about that shit. Wow. So we decided to take a cruise downtown to the old warehouse district. It was a favorite hotspot when I was in college, and it has been renovated since then to open Omaha up as a convention center mecca. So I was excited to see how it all turned out. The warehouse district was insane. It was decorated like it was the holidays. Banners and streamers everywhere, street merchants, musicians, and oceans of people. The flags and banners were written in what looked like runes or some ancient Celtic writing. We drove around for about 45 minutes trying to find a parking spot, but didn't have any luck. The streets are flooded with traffic, both automotive and pedestrian. I ended up parking near the strip mall Joey was working at. Should we stop and say hi? Stella asked. Let's head downtown. We'll stop in on our way back, I said. To be honest, it was one of the most amazing festivals I'd ever been to. The food was incredible. The wine vendors sold locally made wine, and some of the arts and crafts they were selling were some of the most interesting finds. When we reached the statue, we froze and looked up in awe. It wasn't wonder but fear that throbbed in our chests when we looked at that giant black slab that jutted like a rotted tooth from the center of Park of America. What the hell is that? I gasped. Even though spotlights shined on it, it absorbed their light. Can you feel that? Stella asked. I could. The closer we got to that giant slab, the more it thrummed inside me. A vibration that could only be felt inside. What do you think it is? She asked me, not taking her eyes off it. I'm not sure. We had walked closer to it, and the vibration was so bad it was hurting our teeth. I don't think we should get any closer to it. Our voices were being drowned out by the loud internal humming. In front of it was this bronze plaque that read, Lasciate agne speranza, voi ci intrate. What does that mean? Stella asked. You don't know it? It was written above the gate to hell in Dante's Inferno, I said, cleaning my glasses. It's abandon all hope, ye who enter here, I believe. Jesus, she muttered. With that, the thrumming got stronger and blood spurted from her nose. She only stood staring at it. The crowd had turned and looked towards us. I grabbed Stella's hand and began to walk her hurriedly towards our car. The people only followed us with their eyes. It was almost as physical as that horrid vibration that coursed through us. How's your nose? I asked. She took her fingers away from it, and it had stopped bleeding, but her face was caked with coagulated blood on her nose, lips, and chin. Let's get you cleaned up, honey. We were at her vehicle, but I led her to the salon Joey was working at. The door was locked, but I banged on the door a few times before Joey came and let us in a panic. What the fuck are you guys doing here? He looked around before he locked the door back up. I told you to stay home. We pulled the blinds on the salon. The air smelled of fresh paint with a hint of salon products in the background. What happened to you, Stella? He asked, sincerely worried. Did they hit you? No one hit her, Joe, I said. But what the hell is that thing out there in the middle of Park of America? He sat Stella down on one of the salon chairs and went to grab a damp rag. When he came back, he looked even more upset. "Did you guys touch it?" he asked. "No. Why?" I asked. Good, good. Although I don't think it is going to matter much soon. Joe, what the hell is that thing? He walked over to his tool bucket and pulled out a flask of Clan MacGregor scotch, and then dispensed 3 Dixie cups from the sink. He poured with a shaky hand. "Do you remember Scott Finley from school?" he asked. "Tall, goofy fucker. Came in halfway through second semester." Yeah, I did remember him. He's part of our circle of friends while we went to school. He was in the Marines. Do you remember what happened to him? I thought back. It had been over 20 years. He disappeared, Joe spoke up. He met up with some chick, knocked her up. Bada bang, he was gone. That's right. Shit, I had forgotten. I bumped into him about a year ago. I was walking out of Billy Frog's bar. Took the alleyway to my car, and he was just sitting there in the muck. He looked like shit. Scrawny. He looked like a damn meth head. Was he on meth? Well, no, but he was on something. I tried to talk to him, but he was out of it. Kept whispering to himself. Scared the shit out of me, actually. Then I got up and was going to call an ambulance or something, but he grabbed my arm and pulled my face way down to his. Man, he stunk so bad. Like he had pissed and shit himself, mixed with B.O. What does this got to do with? I tried to ask, but he interrupted me. Just shut up and listen, okay? He said the coven owns the market. The coven? What the hell is that supposed to mean? He looked at me curtly and then looked over at Stella and cleaned her face. He doesn't listen for shit, does he? He asked her. She only nodded in agreement. Bless her. I did some digging, he continued. There's a coven of witches that own most of the businesses in the warehouse district. Essentially, they own most of that old market. And these aren't the witches you see on TV. These are Wiccans, or so I thought. According to a friend I know who does security for the buildings around here, this coven has been up to some clandestine shit. There's been ritual killings throughout the Omaha area that no one has been able to solve. Domestic animals, children, and last week, they found Scott's body. They had mutilated his body and hung it on the Park of America bridge. Jesus, Stella said for a second time. Joe's head swung around at her. Be careful what you say, Stell, and be careful where you say it. Joey, this is crazy, I said to him. Pouring another nip. Really? He said, refilling his own. That damn black thing shot up out of the ground overnight. Right after Scott's death. Bam, just like that. No one knows where or how it got there. I even called some of the family in the OPD and they told me to just leave it alone. Well, they have a plaque in front of it, I said. It's the gateway to hell, Jay. He was dead serious, and he was never dead serious. Why do you think it's all Stepford around here? He continued. That thing influences people. You both felt the vibrations, I'm sure. Stella crossed her arms as if she had felt a chill, and I nodded. Why did you invite us out here, Joey? I asked. You're a reporter, he said. I was hoping you could help expose what's going on in Omaha. But I think it's too late for that. What is going on in Omaha, Joey? It's the end. They're getting ready for a big parade. And not just any parade. It's a parade to celebrate the coming of Lucifer. bright angel of the sun. They used to only have influence downtown, but it's spread into the suburbs. I thought your security guard had been acting up a bit peculiar, I said. Shit, he said. Did they say anything to you? They just asked this weird question, Stella spoke up. I didn't think he was going to let us out of your neighborhood, but he called someone and then let us out shortly after. We thought he was calling you. It wasn't me, he said. Shit, we need to get you guys out of here. Settle down, Joey, I said, grabbing his arms. Chill out. Maybe we can help. Nah. They know you're here, Jay, and that's not good. They'll be coming for you. Don't be ridiculous. Some cult is gonna come and kill Stella and I? The only reason I'm alive right now, Jay, is because of my family name. But I think in the end, a Ganucci or an Obama, it's not gonna matter. How long you been hitting that sauce? God damn it, Jay. I'm not fucking around. With every sacrifice, that thing is getting more and more powerful. The parade is tomorrow night, and we're out of time. We need to get out of town. Joey Ganucci had been my best friend for over 20 years. He had never steered me wrong. Okay, maybe he gave certain girls he met my number instead of his own, and maybe he talked me into a few antics that landed us in jail for a couple of nights. But for the most part, he was always my wingman. And as crazy as he sounded that night, I believed him. We came up with the plan that we would act natural and head to a motel. Just a road-weary couple looking to sleep. Joey would then come and pick us up in the early morning about 4:30 a.m., and we would get out of the city limits together. He said he would alert his family that had connections on getting them out of the city. We hugged and parted company, acting like we just stopped in to say hello, and he acted like he was just going back to work. The desk clerk at the Red Roof Inn was surprised to see us. She kept asking how we made it past the detours, and I told her I knew back roads from my college days. Well, this seemed to satisfy her curiosity, but she still didn't look happy to see us. I noticed there were other motorists who had checked in, since the parking lot was full. We didn't unpack our bags. We set them close to the window for easy access. What the hell do we do till 4:30? Stella asked, pacing. Watch the TV, I said, getting up to stop her pacing. It'll be okay, honey. That's only a few hours away. Just relax. How the hell do we relax? If what Joey said is true, my God, if what he says is true, what are we going to do, Jay? We'll figure it out when we get to it. I never believed in the end of the world mythos created by religion and superstition. That crap was just spoken to put fear into the populace to worship whatever god was head honcho at the time. Then explain to me, Professor J. Christensen, what is that thing out there in the park? And why does the damn thing vibrate like that? You know goddamn well there's something supernatural going on. Don't deny it. Keep your voice down. I can't explain half that shit. Only that cults run on fear. With today's technology, who knows what they're capable of creating? You can't let them know how much you're scared. Now come on. Lay down on the bed with me. We'll watch a little telly till Joey shows up, okay? Take a nap. I can't, she said as she lay against my side with her face resting on my chest. But it turned out she could. We both could. We were awoken to the sound of someone rapping on the window. Stella jumped at the same time I did. The clock read 4:40 a.m. I went over to the window and became alarmed when it wasn't Joey standing there in the shrubs outside. I slid the window open part ways. What do you want? I whispered to the stranger. Jay and Stella Christensen? She whispered back. Maybe. Who the fuck are you? Bethany Ganucci. I'm Joey's cousin. Well, where's Joey? Waiting for us. Come on. He never said anything about, we don't have much time, Jay. They're already collecting people from the hotels. Stella reluctantly went through the window with me. We put our luggage in the back of Bethany's Lexus. A loud horn echoed through the sky like a giant throb. I thought my head was going to explode. Stella and I had both collapsed to the ground. What the fuck was that? I said. They're here, Bethany shouted. From around the corner, a metro bus hissed to a stop. What's going on? Stella asked. Bethany tasered me. I heard Stella try to attack her, and then a loud thump, and then my wife was lying unconscious beside me on the concrete. Stella? I said. Then something from above me came down on my head. I didn't have time to register what it was. Sharp pain, my ears rang, then there were stars, and then blackness. When I came to, there was movement, as if we were riding in a hay wagon on a bumpy gravel road. I could feel the breeze blow the top of my hair, and when I opened my eyes, I realized I was riding in what seemed to be a hay wagon. My legs and arms were zip-stripped and tethered to the wagon floor. There were several of us on the cart, which was hitched to other carts. I couldn't see Stella. She wasn't on my cart, and she didn't seem to be on any nearby. On each cart was a police officer with a shotgun at the ready. My fellow passengers were just as frightened as I was. We were parked alongside one another inside a giant warehouse. I think, if memory serves me well, we were inside one of the old stockyard barns. We could all smell the old rotted meat coming up from the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, a male voice spoke from above. We would like to welcome you to the beginning of the end. Tonight is a special night, one that will go down in history. You are about to witness the coming of Lucifer, the one true God of earth, as foretold in the ancient texts. You will be brought through the streets of our festival to witness the rituals needed to bring our king to rule. And at the end of your journey, you will be sacrificed to bring about the key to unlock the abyss. Praise him. The other people, who weren't bound to the trailers, went into some orgasmic chants of worship to Lucifer. The giant doors to the pens opened, and the tractors pulling us roared to life. We all jerked and then looked in horrified anxiety to see what awaited us beyond those great doors. It was like a parade of sorts. Crowds were gathered at either end of the streets cheering. Streamers and balloons floated in the night air. Children danced and skipped along the hay wagon singing. But there was no candy being thrown from these morbid floats. Only our cries for help. There were no high school bands marching through a popular song put to band music. The words on the banners were blasphemies to God and hails to Satan. The revelers were hardly clothed, enacting obscenities to one another in the public eye. All the while the vibration thrummed stronger and louder in everyone's heads. Some of us on the wagons began to cry and scream as we passed by murders being performed on the sidewalks as we passed. Still, no sign of Joey or Stella. The streets were running red with the blood of those unlucky enough to be caught by the crowds. And depending on how you look at it, I guess they were the lucky ones in hindsight. But hindsight is always 20/20, as they say. We came to a stop in front of that great monolith. Gathered there were 12 robed women, a coven, and tied to posts were Stella and Joe. Joe was hanging upside down on a cross, and the women disrobed and gathered around Joe, who was screaming from the pain of having his wrist hammered into the upside-down crucifix. Each woman produced a large serrated blade and sliced his guts open. They moaned loudly in ecstasy, and the crowd followed in suit, and they rubbed his innards all over their nakedness. I screamed out to Stella, but the crowd was so loud that she couldn't hear me. One of the witches walked over to her and kissed her on the lips to muffle her screams, and then she plunged the blade into her chest, churning the blade until she could reach into my wife's chest and pull out her heart. The witch raised it to the monolith and then squeezed it until all that blood drenched her face around her mouth. I screamed uncontrollably, muffled by the crowd, and then suddenly the vibration that emitted from the monolith was threatening to split my skull in half. That obsidian rock rumbled and began to shift, as if it were a black sheet being ripped in the middle. It was imploding within itself. I could feel myself being drawn towards it like a heavy pull of gravity. All of us were being pulled towards it. The hay wagons we were on, they were skidding on the cobblestone streets. Then it seemed like all the air was sucked out of the area. Silence was deafening. Something blazed from the sky and was absorbed into that rock. As the air rushed back, I felt a pressure in my ears and my head. My nose began bleeding, and the wagons fell back, shattering the bonds that were holding us. I stumbled to my feet, only to witness the rock and the space around it disappearing within itself. The gaping hole where the rock stood spat out molten earth, and the smell of sulfur gushed into our nostrils. From the depths, I could hear something coming. Something that growled in inhuman voice. And behind that growl was the chorus of snarls getting louder as they reached the surface of the lava flow. I turned and ran. I made it as far as Greaves, Nebraska on foot. How I made it as far as I did is beyond me. Perhaps it was my grief that gave me the adrenaline to push forth. Why I headed west also escapes me. Once that gate opened, everything changed. The sky turned a dark red like the color of blood. Motorized vehicles died on the spot as soon as the wave of darkness washed over them. There were traffic jams and thousands of motorists exiting from their vehicles. There was a silence as all of us looked at what our world had become. It was only a matter of an hour when they came. Demons. Black wisps of negative energy ripping through the Nebraska countryside, seeking vessels to inhabit and torture. So many fell. The ones that weren't possessed were eaten by the ones that were. I hid here in this old warehouse that is covered with vines and graffiti. I haven't had the time or energy to grieve the loss of my wife or my friend or even life as I knew it. And I had to be silent, and was lucky to find this old Nebraskan township that perhaps was once a booming town but now only held a few rural citizens within its borders. It's only now at this moment that I realize this typing, beating out a rat-tat-tat-tat upon these old sheets of paper, has only given me away. The shadows, they grow darker, and the air is colder. There's something behind. And that's the end of that one. The end, as they say. Question mark, question mark. So, oh hey, it's my little sister Sarah. Hi Sarah. Yeah. So that was Lucifer's Parade. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was actually very, very fun to read. And I don't know why I put that drawl on there, but I just thought it kind of fit the character. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. He actually listened. That's awesome. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, so thank you guys for listening tonight. Next week, I have for Apocalypse Humpday, we will be reading. What will we be reading? We'll be reading a story called Atomic Sunrise, and that is from my book Sleepwalker, my book from last year. And that'll be next week at the same time, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time in America. I know I've got some relatives in New Zealand that have been listening and watching, and I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out here. I appreciate you guys liking my page, and I appreciate you guys heading to YouTube and liking and subscribing on there. Yeah, this has all been kind of fun doing the live things with you guys, and it's helping me kind of get out of my creativity sludge that I've been going through. So I can't wait to see you guys next week on Tunes for Tuesday. We'll be hearing from Mitch Wilson and a song from myself. If there's something you guys want to hear, let me know about it. If you guys play and sing, please feel free to send me a video of you performing, and we'll put it on Tunes on Tuesday. So if you are looking for my books, you can find them on Amazon, and they're available on paperback and on Kindle, and they're also available on Barnes and Noble, which I think is pretty cool that my books can be found on Barnes and Noble. But yeah, so yeah, check them out, buy my book. If you have bought any of my books, please go to Amazon and review them, because the more you review them, even if you hated them, the more you review them, the more that they get put into the algorithm to suggest to other readers that are looking for books to read. So, all right. So we will talk to you guys next week. I might surprise you again this weekend or something like that with something. I don't know. We'll see. Anyhow, I hope you guys all have a great night. And can we read Brown Bear? I will tuck you in at night and read Brown Bear to you, buddy. So, see you, Jason. Thanks for checking in, brother. And, yeah, have a great night. Deuces. Let's end this mofo.